Hi, this is Colin with Maker Farm. This video is to show you how to assemble the Y-axis for the i3V prusa. The V prusa is the one that uses the aluminum extrusion. In the last video, it cut off before we could show you, but basically all I did in the last video was just put the 4 M3 by 10 millimeter bolts holding the X motor in place. So go ahead and do that. Then you can take your whole X assembly and put it to the side. Now for the Y axis, we're going to grab our frame again. You're also going to grab these two little pieces, which make sure you refer to the Y axis page in the i3V build guide. Gather all that information together. Then we're going to grab our Y idler, and we're going to grab our Y bed or our heat bed mount. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get some aluminum extrusion, and we're going to grab these two little pieces here. If you notice on your frame there are two corresponding places where those match up perfectly. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to grab our extrusion, and we're going to grab one of these. You can go ahead and slide it in there and then match it up to your frame and slide that in like that. Grab your other one and do the same thing. Make sure that they're aligned first so you get them going the right direction. Slide that in, line that up, and slide it down. Okay, now what we can do, there's 4 holes for 16 millimeter long M3 bolts. Just go ahead and grab those 4 bolts. And we're going to use the M3 lock nuts for this. Get your wrench, and we're just going to go ahead and tighten those down all the way. Alright, now we're going to take this and flip it over so that we can see the back of our machine. We've got 2 holes that basically align with that extrusion. You're going to take 2 of your 12 millimeter long M5 bolts, and those are going to go right there. The ends of your aluminum extrusion should be tapped, so when you get that bolt in there, it will just screw right into the extrusion. Don't over tighten it, as you can strip the threads, but you should be able to get it nice and snug. Okay, so we've got the back end on there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our belt for the y-axis. Make sure you look up the belt length from your build guide. Just loop over the ends. Put a zip tie on there. Cut off the excess zip tie. And do the same for the other side of the belt. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our bed. And you notice we're going to have the R pointing to the right hand side of our machine. These two little holes here are going to be at the back of the machine. So now I'm going to turn my bed mount over here, and I'm going to take my belt, and the teeth are going to be pointing towards the bottom of the bed. So when it's sitting the correct way, the teeth will be pointing, let's see, no, that's not correct. The teeth will be pointing down away from the bottom of the bed when you get that installed correctly. So now we're going to get some bolts here. Let's see, okay, get some of the 25mm long bolts, and just go through either side, doesn't matter which side, and put a lock nut on the other side. And then we'll do the same thing for the other belt end. Okay. So now I'm going to take my belt, I'm going to loop it around and bring it back over to here. Basically that's where it's going to go, but before I do that I'm going to get my Y idler. And basically I'm going to turn it upside down just like this is. I'm going to take my belt, put it down through there. The teeth are going to contact the bearing. Line that one up. Install my bolt through, get a locking nut on the other side. Tighten it down. Okay, so I've got my two belts on there and it's looped just like that. Okay, now I'm going to do my best to be able to show you this on the video. It's a lot easier to assemble this part when you're not shooting a video. But basically we're going to hold on to both of these, flip them upside down. All of these idlers are going to go on the outside of these two extrusions, and then this belt loop is going to loop around our gear on our Y motor. So I'm going to hold them like this. Just slide that down. I'm going to grab my belt. Just put it there. Get that on there. Okay, then we're going to go to the front of the machine here. And just like we did in the back, we're going to take two of the 12mm long M5 bolts. We're going to just put them right through the Y idler and bolt them down into the aluminum extrusion. Okay, now you can check your Y bed movement. If it moves nice and freely, when it's hooked up to the motor, there's going to be some resistance. But as long as it moves freely, and if you try and wiggle it, it doesn't wiggle around. Okay, that's a good sign. Now I can pull back on my motor, my Y motor, and then I can just tighten up those 4 bolts that are holding it in place. Just like that. Okay, so now what we need to do, we still need to align the motor shaft or the gear for the belt on the Y motor with the rest of our belt. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this upside down, and if you move the bed all the way back, you can see that I need to adjust that because it's not quite lining up how I would like it to. I'm just going to loosen it here, push it in until it's aligned how I want it to, then tighten those back down. And mine seems kind of tight right now too, so I can take my wrench and I can turn these. There's one here, and there's one here, and I can just turn those to be a little bit looser. See, I turned it too far, so now it's wobbly. You don't want it to be wobbly. There we go. So now it's not wobbly anymore and it moves nice and freely. Okay, so that is how you put together the Y axis for the i3 Prusa. If you have any questions, make sure to refer to your build guide. There's also contact information there where you can contact us if you have any questions. Thank you.